short introduction about myself. I am working for Hyperport, and last year, and here I am together with Rick, responsible for all the AI initiatives within the organization. And last year, we also participated in the hackathon, and we won with a climate risk calculator. Um, bit more about so that's a bit about us. And then I would like to kick off the challenge we submitted for this year's hackathon. We're really excited to take part again, and this year also submit a challenge. And we came up with the following challenge. It's gonna be a structured finance agent framework. Um, and a bit more on that here. So a problem statement we came up with is that you have a lot of different parties within structured finance who want something different from the data. So a bank wants an investor Q&A agent, a servicer might want a cash flow anomaly explainer, a rating agency wants a prospectus extractor, and for every use case, a specific tool is built, but it's not really replicable. So every time it's around the same ESMA parser or a prospectus extractor or a waterfall validator for each use case. And in this, the governance might be a bit ad hoc. So what's happening here? I'm looking only at this single use case. And then reuse becomes very difficult. So the opportunity we saw is that there are a lot of generic frameworks around AI agents. So you have your LangGraph, which is, for example, a very generic agent orchestration framework. Some things we found, there's a FinBot or FinGPT, but that's more on the trading side and forecasting and not specifically tailored for structured finance. And there's a bit of quant research. It's not low level. But what we really want to do with this challenge is that what we see is within structured finance, you have kind of a set amount of data sources that can be used for an agent framework. So you have your ESMA tapes, remittance files, waterfall logic, governance, prospectuses. And I think by creating a framework specifically tailored towards structured finance, really benefit creating solutions actually. So that's really came up with the following challenge. Build an open structured finance native agent framework that combines a library of domain primitives, data connector, and those primitives could be data connectors, parsers, validators. And then on top of that, with the dynamic orchestration layer that composes them into reliable, auditable agents for any structured finance question. And you might wonder, how would that look like? You have the dynamic orchestration layer. That's kind of a meta agent that composes a plan. It decomposes your question, creates a plan, routes everything. And then here's the build, and then comes the built-in domain primitives. Specifically, that's really tailored structured finance layer. For that, it's a fixed, tested, versioned parsers of data or extractors, validators, anything like that. So why did we think that the hybrid approach works best for structured finance? If you would go only primitive, so only an ESMA extractor or only a waterfall validator, it is very strong that's being predictable, testable, and easily reviewable because you don't have the black box principle. But every specific question requires a different script or a different approach. So scaling is more difficult. And if you would go fully agent, um, it can become unreliable, and there comes, like I mentioned earlier, more of a black box principle. So results can be inconsistent or very expensive for long running AI tasks and impossible to audit. So idea we came up with, combine the strengths of the primitives with a smart intelligent AI layer on top of it, that the domain logic is in the agent framework, and you get the dynamic approach of the AI. So in the framework, we see a couple of these are the primitives we see as of now. So you have your data connectors. For example, you could use deep loans, but it's for connecting a prospective PDF, for example, an ESMA annex, remittance files, trustee reports, investor reports. Then you have the extractors of the data. Then you have the validators. Then you have the analyzers, governance, for audit logging, and then specific interfaces. So you can see versioning, cost latency, everything, what the agent is doing. So by having these as this is really where the domain logic is stored. So the domain logic, how does the data look like for structured finance? And then these are all the tools, let's say, that the AI agent can use. And this is, for example, how a meta agent would use those primitives. So you will ask a question, then the meta agent will plan what it's going to do. Then it's going to compose all the calls it's going to do, and which primitives it needs and which subtasks it needs to create. Then it executes those subtasks and retries it when a validator fails or if its approach is not good. And then the verification, so it checks its output, and also this is where the human in the loop could come in. So you could say when the AI has an input as a confidence of lower than 80%, a human in the loop is required. And then finally, it returns the answer to your question. So, what this unlocks is that we see a couple of benefits. So, if this is installed correctly and you have the data, if there's a new question, you can quickly ask it. It's connected to the data, and you don't have to every time create something from scratch. It's much faster to just get a quick question. So, and I think the biggest benefit we see here is that it's the reusability. That's something that's not on this slide. So by having this framework, everybody can start from scratch, but not fully from scratch, because all the different elements and different tools to be used by AI are already there. So we think this could be really beneficial for the whole industry to have like kind of a basis to work from and a strong foundation. So, for example, and here we build for example, sprint. So we have to kick off. Then the things we would suggest are start off with building the primitives. What primitives do you need? What connectors are there? Then the orchestration. So how would the AI for agent framework work like? How would your meta agent handle each task? And then to really test it and also be ready for the demo, we should just pick a use case, one or two, which you like, and really test that one out. It's really about getting to see what this framework is capable of, but also keeping it doable in the time frame we have. And then finally, look at the use case you chose, see what the results were, where it needs fine tuning, and then finally we have the demo day in Barcelona on the 10th of June. So in the end, build a framework everyone will be using within structured finance. That's the goal.